FM Colbert, 1280 KZNS AM Salt Lake City, and 102.7 KSL FM HD2 Salt Lake City Midvale. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on in, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. Thanks for being with us on the program. Jeremiah, Jensen, Alex, Kirry. It is JJ and Alex right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the show. We are at RGS Exteriors here in, which Jordan is it?
The West one.
It's the West Jordan. Wejo, we like to call it out here.
Wejo, huh?
Wejo. Yeah.
There's Sojo and there's
Sojo,
Wejo,
there's
and then
Wejo.
there's JoJo.
Is there a Jordan?
I don't know. There's Jordan High School.
There you go. Shout out to all the beat diggers out there.
That's right.
Thanks for being a part of the show, everybody. Yes, we are at RGS Exteriors. We're going to chat with Aaron coming up here in just a little while. Of course, RGS does a phenomenal job making the outside of your home look beautiful, but also they do it without breaking the bank, and they also do it better than the national guys who will rip you off.
Old school craftsmanship.
Yeah, look, they have a whole motto. We're at their building, and so it's kind of an interesting peek into the behind the curtain because they have. Like, this is where they have their company meetings. And the company meetings are like, here's what we do. You know what I mean? And so it's nice to see their mission as a company and all those things. So it's exciting to be able to do. We've got lots to get into today. Quite an eventful day. Quite an eventful week. And look, I took a lot over the last 24 hours. I've taken a lot of questions from people who are like, so what does that college football playoff stuff actually mean? And the answer is we have no freaking idea. By the way, the biggest reason that is because we have so much dang football left to be played. But it still gives you a little bit of an insight as to where things are when it comes to where the committee is thinking. The more I went back and I re-looked, I was like, you know the meme with Wolverine where he's looking at the picture of the and longing? And I was me in bed last night looking at all the rankings going, gosh, it could have been so different. Yeah. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, hold on a minute. Why is Miami the highest-ranked ACC team? What is going on here? And it's all part of this conspiracy to make sure that Notre Dame finds its way into the college football playoff, I think. But it's hard not to be J to JJ. We've seen way too many versions. Yeah. Look, and if you want to deal with all this, the way you take it out of humans' hands is you just play as good a football as you can, and you create your own destiny. And having to rely on a group of fuddy-duddies in a room to decide your fate for you is no way to do it. And so I'm for the model now of make sure that you take out of the hands the decision-making that one or two teams are going to be left out and that other teams get let in. But let's kick off the program officially here. We'll dive more into what the complications and implications are of this college football playoff. As now we've had a few hours to digest this thing. Let's get into it right now. Top of the hour, top of the show with the cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the program, TRAJANwealth.com. That's Trajan Wealth for all your trusted local needs in retirement, TrajanWealth.com. Okay, so now that we've been able to look at it a little bit longer, JJ.
Yes.
Now that we've been able to kind of digest what the rest of the College Football Playoff Committee is trying to figure out, what we do know is this. They value at least 3 two-loss teams ahead of a one-loss BYU team in the College Football Playoff. And the 2 losses that Utah currently has sitting in the spot that they are at 13, which are decidedly, in my mind, way better losses than even Notre Dame has, losing to a not very good Miami team. Now that we have figured out they're a not very good Miami team.
Right.
How about Texas losing to a 3-win Florida team? We love talking about the win that they had over Ohio State. But what are the things that put these teams right there? And it's unfortunate, but the reality of why these –
or the loss they had on Ohio State. Who have they beat?
Okay. So they've beaten San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston.
They beat Vanderbilt by a field goal.
So
Oklahoma.
When they went, so they lost.
Those are good wins.
Think about how weird of a start this is. They lose to Ohio State. Fine. It was a 14-7 game. Everybody's looking at Arch Manning going, that guy kind of looked like not very good, but we'll see.
Yeah.
They beat San Jose State. They beat UTEP. They beat Sam Houston. Those were the 3 wins in a row they rattled off before losing to Florida. And then everyone went, oh, man. Oh, but now they've won 3 other games. And so what has that done for them? It's put out of their minds the idea that anybody wants to – look, Texas, the reason they're in, it's not the SEC. They'll say it's a tough SEC schedule. It's not the SEC, JJ, because it's a brand.
Yeah.
Their brand –
it's powerful. I get
is significant.
And you make the same case with Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, their brand is too big. You can make that. You can make the argument with Oklahoma too. Oklahoma, the brand is a blue blood, multiple Heisman Trophy winning. It means more here, not just because of the SEC.
The problem, though, isn't the committee supposed to be strictly making these decisions based on resume and not brands?
No,
because I believe, like you believe, I think the committee would rather have Notre Dame and Texas in the playoff than BYU and Utah.
Of course, and here's why, JJ.
Even though you could make similar cases for all 4.
Look, you're in the television business, and you've helped me become cynical and jaded enough.
I'm glad I've had that effect on you. I have that effect on everybody.
To realize.
Let me tell you how it really is. Let me tell you how the sausage is made.
JJ, I'm telling you, it's hard not to look at this and say, oh, this college football playoff committee is just trying to cast the best reality TV programming that they can.
Correct.
And they are casting a TV show. And it's much better to have big names and recognizable faces on your college football playoff reality TV show you're putting together so that people will tune in. And that's not to say that people wouldn't tune in still to a very popular show, so to speak. But I'll go back to this. I haven't done all the research on this, and I'm going to pretend like I don't know as much as I do about the topic. However, my wife is a big Dancing with the Stars person, okay? Right now they're going through this weird thing because you're getting people that are getting votes and staying on the show that have no business being there. They can't dance worth 2 freaking beans, all right? And I'm not saying that Texas is the Andy Richter of the college football playoff. But the people are up in arms about how many weeks in a row Andy just keeps finding himself on the program, and it has nothing to do with his ability, has nothing to do. It's because he's got this little fan group that just he gets voted in, and they have to keep him on. Now, I know that it's a lot more complicated than it's basically a version of Dancing with the Stars, but is it that far off?
No, because what's the engine driving all this? It's television.
Making money off of the ratings.
ESPN or Fox or whoever has the rights. Right now it's ESPN, ABC/Disney has the rights to the college football playoff, right? So what do they want? What conference is ESPN in bed with?
The SEC.
Correct.
Yes.
So guess who has the most opportunities for bids in the college football playoff?
They definitely have the most, according to this list.
Based on what we're saying, I mean, Texas getting in adds another team to the mix. I believe it's 5. Could you see 5 SEC teams this year when the SEC hasn't been dominant, hasn't been as good as it's been in the past, yet they're going to get more bids this year than ever? And it just so happens to coincide with ESPN having this contract with the SEC? Are you shocked by this?
So I'm not, but what I'm saying is that I'm not tinfoil hat guy, right? Like I'm not crazy.
You don't need a tinfoil hat.
That's what I'm saying is that
this is just
people
reality.
will go, I didn't like your conspiracy theory you were talking about the other day about how everybody just wants to poo-poo on BYU. I said, no, it's not just that. They can't wait for Texas Tech to be fake. They can't wait.
It's not about BYU.
No,
it's about making sure that the teams behind them that they want in get in.
It's not just that.
And they use this opportunity to do it.
As soon as Baylor last year, or not Baylor, Boise State, as soon as Boise State gets put into, were they the 3rd or 4th in the college football playoff?
They were
definitely a bye team.
They were 3rd.
They got the bye.
They got in one spot ahead of Arizona State.
Right. So they get the bye. And what happened immediately? After they get their butts absolutely handed to them by a way better Penn State team, everyone looked and went,
told you so.
We can't let these little guys do this anymore,
and they changed the whole format
with
the conference champions getting the bye.
Who do we call so that I don't have to see a boy? Did you say it was Boise State on my television screen last night? Who do I have to call to be able to make sure I don't have Boise State on my television screen anymore? It was hard to look at, Mike. You know, like that is the guy in my head who calls and says, we got to get this thing changed. It's the same guy fictional or not, who calls up and goes, "Now, I'm a fan of good football, but whose idea was it that the Mormons won the national championship this year, Craig? Because last time I checked, my Sooners were playing down in Miami in the Orange Bowl. Am I wrong? Am I not seeing straight?" Same guy.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yep.
Change the rules because you don't have the same people. It is just hard to watch a slow-motion train wreck of how they want this thing to go. Here's the great news, though. Big 12, BYU fans, Utah fans, Texas Tech, I think they're going to be fine. Here's the good news, is when you're just winning, that's all you can do and say, we put it out there. Now, in Utah's case, the 2 losses that they took, is it going to be too much for them to be able to get into the college football playoff? It may be. But if you have a 3-loss Oklahoma team and a 3-loss Texas team, and you're out there and you go, because I was watching today, and one of these national pundit shows, and they go, I had 11-1 BYU going to the Big 12 championship game and even losing a second time, but me putting them in the college football playoff. But not after last week. Not after the way they played that team. I can't. That's not a playoff team. And I went, how on earth is Texas a playoff team? How has Texas looked like a playoff team? When have they looked like a playoff team?
BYU has 1 loss to a top 6 team right now. Texas has a loss to a team that's 3-6.
10 minutes ago, they had to force a very improbable overtime in Starkville, Mississippi against a team who's won 1 game in the SEC. All right? So don't tell me that this team's resume is so unflappable.
They beat Kentucky by 3 points.
Okay? Kentucky beat Florida, by the way, by 100.
Uh-huh.
What was it, 38-7 at their place?
Right.
And Texas had a hard time against Kentucky.
Yep.
I'm telling you, these are not games that we're looking at and you're going, man, what's the best win they have all season long? Them beating Oklahoma, which is perfect because all the people who make the argument that Oklahoma should be in are using Texas as the mirror to be able to reflect that off of. Do yourself a favor and go and look at these games that they played against San Jose State 38-7. UTEP 27-10. No, that was not played at the Sun Bowl.
Utah State played UTEP as well as Texas did.
Okay. Sam Houston, they beat him 55-0. That's the best game on paper that Arch Manning has had his entire college career. And you know what? Sam Houston is the worst team at the FBS football level. The worst team. Ranked 136 on most of the metrics. Them and UMass. Okay?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is not only are they not playing people that are that big of a deal, don't act like their entire schedule. We convince ourselves that their entire schedule is just one Ohio State or Oklahoma or Georgia every other week, and that's just not the case. They've played really weak competition in their out-of-conference schedules, which they set up on purpose to be able to get to the spot that they're at, okay? And then they make sure that the rest of the way that they can just get the job done enough, just eking by Mississippi State and eking by Vanderbilt and eking by a Florida or losing to Florida, a team that has 3 wins this year. One of their 3 wins is you.
Yeah.
If BYU or Utah had one of their losses against, what would the equivalent be? What would the equivalent be?
Well, let's look at the Big 12 and who was a 3-6 team in the Big 12. Colorado?
It'd be like UCF probably.
Colorado.
It'd be Colorado. So let's say you lose to Colorado.
Yeah.
Everyone would look at you and go, what is your
You wouldn't even
deal?
be considered.
Yeah. So do you see what I'm saying, though? Okay?
I mean, there's not even –
There's one. Colorado's 3-7.
You got to go all the way down to West Virginia to find a team in the Big 12 with 6 losses.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and if you lost to West Virginia, you would be disqualified as a Big 12 team.
Oh, 100%.
They would just go, there's no way you can get this back.
I think that's what's happened to Houston. Why is Houston not in the top 25?
Okay.
They're 8-2 and 5-2 in conference play. Why is Houston not getting any consideration? Because they lost to West Virginia, right? What's the difference in losses? Are you more frustrated by the Texas case or by the Notre Dame case? I think the Texas case has got me more frustrated because you have a national pundit.
It has
saying,
over the past 24 hours.
A third loss for Texas isn't going to mean anything because that means they beat either Georgia or Texas A&M, and therefore by winning one of those games, even though they have lost 3 games, they should be in.
Okay,
just ignore the rest of the ugly stuff.
What's the worst power conference by far?
ACC.
What's half of Notre Dame's schedule?
ACC. And not even the good ACC.
And not even the good
Outside
ACC.
of Miami, which they lost to.
Okay.
And Miami's flawed.
Not even the good ACC. And then on top of it,
Miami's not even good enough to get into the ACC championship game this year.
But Miami has to be put ahead of.
Do you know who's going to be in the ACC championship?
It's going to be No, don't tell me. It's going to be Virginia versus Duke.
It's going to be Georgia Tech and Duke. Yeah.
So Duke is on this weird path.
Right.
Because if Duke wins that game, they could be a 4-loss ACC champion.
Correct.
And that would set off a weird chain of events where
if they beat Virginia, the rest of their schedule is North Carolina, Wake Forest. And by virtue of that, they would be in the Big 12. They would be in the ACC championship.
And they
game.
get there, and then you know what happened? If they won it, okay? If they beat an 11-1 Georgia Tech team, which by the way, nobody is convinced that Georgia Tech's just going to wipe the floor with everybody, right?
But I mean, they got to beat Pitt and Georgia to get to 11-1.
Georgia Tech
point
does.
is valid.
Georgia Tech does. Yeah.
So you're probably looking at a 9-3. Let's say they lose those 2 games, and maybe Pitt sneaks up in there. But let's say they lose those games. So I'm getting off track here. You get my point. Like, you have an ACC championship game that could be really ugly.
No, this is not off track. This is part of the Beautiful Mind college football playoff conspiracy board that we have up.
There you go.
With all the strings connecting everywhere, okay? It's part of the deal. Duke is in 5th place right now in the ACC.
Well,
and we're talking about
5 teams with 1 loss in conference.
Yeah, and we're talking about a team that right now is 5-4.
Miami's not one of them.
I know.
They have 2.
And they're 5. Duke is 5-4 on the season. All right, you're talking about the real reality that a Duke Blue Devils team could win out, go to the ACC championship game, and be a 4-loss ACC champion.
By the way, Duke could be the ACC champion. They lost to Tulane by a touchdown. They lost to UConn. And they could be the ACC champion.
Is Jim Moore Jr. still there at UConn?
I think so.
That's crazy.
Big win for the Huskies.
But you see what I'm saying? What I'm saying out loud is the thing that everybody here in this market, and everybody, frankly, who follows the Big 12 close enough, is having to watch.
Yeah.
Because in the end, by the way, a team like Cincinnati, who should deserve some discussion other than just because what's Cincinnati? They're a
7-2, 5-1 in conference.
They're 1 loss in conference play. All right. Guess who else is 5-1 in conference play? BYU. Guess who else is 6-1 in conference play? Texas Tech. You have 3 1-loss teams in there. But no one wants to give Cincinnati any respect because Cincinnati. However, suddenly when you're having this conversation, and if Notre Dame beats a 3rd-tier ACC team, they go, yeah, but I like what they're doing out there in the field. I love what Jeremiah Love is doing. He looks very strong. And you go, what are we doing? Okay, so you guys value good running backs? Oh, yeah. And then you bring them another team, and you're like, yeah, but not them, though. That doesn't fit my narrative. Yeah. You see, I'm watching this thing happen, and it's sad because the only thing that you should be worried about right now is a conference championship race, but no one cares. Because all they're looking at is, get to the college football play, or get to the conference championship game if you're BYU, and then what happens? You're not going to get rewarded.
No, you're going to get punished.
You lose to number 8 Texas Tech.
That's why Utah's in a better position right now, because if they avoid the Big 12 championship game, they're sitting at 10-2 with their last loss being at BYU in October. But they'll have all this momentum, assuming they do what we think they're going to do. If they do what they have to do to get consideration, that means blowing out Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas in the next 3 games, which is what they would have to do to get that kind of attention. But if they did, they would be in a better position than BYU, who's going to play in a Big 12 championship game with 1 loss. And you can tell right now that BYU 12 and Utah 13, if Utah doesn't lose another game but BYU loses another game, even though BYU won the head-to-head, don't they have to drop BYU below Utah? Utah's playing better football right now. Utah has not lost a game, and Utah's doing this. And BYU fans are going to go absolutely insane by that. You're right, though. Ultimately, BYU controls their own destiny. But we know how good Texas Tech is, and so it feels really uneasy right now if you're a BYU fan, feeling like you're getting jobbed a little bit, because why in the world did you drop 5 spots after losing to one of the best teams in the country in their building?
I did,
it doesn't make sense. No other team. If Ole Miss lost to Alabama tomorrow on Saturday, I'm just making up a hypothetical here, by a similar score in Alabama's building, would Ole Miss drop to 12 this week?
No. No, and that's why.
Why is BYU dropping 5 spots?
I don't know, because the same argument that they used to put Texas Tech up is, well, they're beating teams and they just beat an undefeated BYU team. But then they also used against BYU's argument, yeah, but that was a bad loss. We're really putting you down there.
Why is
which
it a
one
bad
is
loss?
It? Which one is it?
They were supposed to lose that game. They were 10-point underdogs.
Which one is it? So in Texas,
drop them a couple. Drop them below Oregon. They're both one-loss teams. BYU's lost. I get that. Dropping them behind two-loss teams. No, 3 two-loss teams.
Yep.
Notre Dame, Texas and Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
That the logic doesn't make sense there with what the committee did there. If you thought BYU was the 7th-ranked team in the country last week, what they did on Saturday convinced you they were 5 spots less?
What was the tell me the number where in the college football playoff ranking that Miami ended up? Are they 15?
Yeah.
So they're 15 and Georgia Tech is 16. And everybody was like, hey, why did Miami move up? Everybody's asking the question, hey, why did Miami move up so much?
You know why. You know why.
Got to make sure that Notre Dame gets taken care of. Just keep making that, that Notre Dame law.
Why did Georgia Tech move up 1 spot and Miami move up 3? Georgia Tech has the better record.
Yes, they're a one-loss team.
What's the logic there when it comes to the ACC?
The logic is, wow, but they did beat Notre Dame. I mean, man, what a hard-fought battle to win that one at the very beginning of the season. I just think that we give way too much. And you know what is interesting? I've never argued for the Texas A&M Aggies in my life. But why are they not higher? Why are they not higher than Indiana?
I told you yesterday.
Why can't
they moved ahead?
Why can't they be?
They had a better week. I thought we were supposed to reset this every week.
Here's the question: why can't they be number 1? Because Ohio State is undefeated for sure. So now put the. It's not just about being undefeated. Look at Texas A&M.
Ohio State played Purdue. Texas A&M played a ranked Missouri team.
Yeah, the
margin of victory is almost identical.
Right, and they crushed the heck out of them.
Right.
Yes. So
on the road.
If you look at Texas A&M's schedule, they have more wins against ranked teams, and they're in the lauded SEC. And by the way, like I said, Indiana and Ohio State are there. Why though? Why? Because they were ahead of Texas A&M when the season started on the rankings.
Exactly.
But we don't take those into account, JJ. You don't know. You don't know me.
Don't.
You know I don't take those into account. See, it's all.
We're just asking the committee to make it make sense.
Okay. So, my last statement is this: when they put this out, understand that they are only putting together the rankings that they have, so that they can put on a better reality TV program, and that they have a couple of reasons to be able to make the excuse to say, oh, no, for sure we have enough evidence to be able to do it. We can make a logical step in our heads, and it's very illogical because they treat every team different. But they're going to make a way to be able to make sure they get their teams on that reality programming. That's what have I said about the college football playoff? It's like the Golden Bachelor. It's must-watch TV.
The Golden Bachelor.
These are old teams, man. Old teams playing against one another.
Well, when you're older, it just means more.
Right. Bad divorces. There's going to be a bunch of Mucilex commercials probably on Mucinex. Is that the one? No. What's the one with Depend, not with the S. There's going to be also, when you're watching the college football playoff and you go, oh, my goodness, they got me. This is the Golden Bachelor.
Brought to you by Cialis.
Yes, you're going to get those commercials. No, I hate when we're right about all this, JJ.
I know. It makes you angry.
We'll take a break. Hey, when we return, the Jazz getting a massive W last night at home. How about a rookie breakout night for Ace Bagley? He got his start 2 nights ago, his very first start with the team, and then he finally breaks that 20-point barrier as a rookie, has his best night as the Jazz absolutely whoop up on the Indiana Pacers last night. We'll talk about that and much more. Stay right here with us. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
You know what's coming.
Your daily deep dive into everything Utah Jazz.
It's time.
All season long and even in the off season. It's Jazz Daily with JJ and Alex on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Yes, you know what that music means. NBA on NBC going strong. Last night I got to watch with the Jazz on a small screen in my house. On the big screen, it was Philly Celtics. It was 76ers Celtics up on the screen last night. It was nice to Nice to have a big old national game.
That was a great game.
It actually ended up being pretty good, and it came down to the last shot, and it was yeah.
We're thrilled to have the NBA back on NBC, and I'm going to be even more thrilled once this Jazz franchise gets things rolling, because once they do, we could have up to 7, 8, even 10 games on KSL from the NBA package. So we can't wait for that time to come. So we're excited to have the NBA back. So
interestingly enough, I'm watching this thing go down, and I'm watching the Jazz game, and I was like, oh man, they're way better than this Pacers team. And that Pacers team is bad. Now
1-10.
Lowry with 35. Bigger breakout, though, I think was that moment. Ace Bailey needed a night like last night.
He's the story.
Everybody's been waiting for Ace to have a game where it wasn't just about – he's been increasing the minutes, right? And you get Will Hardy's blessing, and you go into the game a little bit more, and you're asked to go in and play maybe some extra minutes here and there. But the reality is that Ace Bailey became the guy last night. I say became. It's not like he arrived. But he did have the game that I think people were anticipating he was going to have maybe a week or two ago when the season officially started, because he was having such a good go during the preseason. But now we've seen a guy who is able to have that 20-point game. What does that do for a kid going forward? A guy like Ace Bailey.
It unlocks his potential. Every time he goes out there and he does something like that, the confidence will increase. And that's a kid who already has a lot of confidence and a lot of ability and a lot of talent. When you start doing it against the best of the best when it matters on an NBA floor, it unlocks everything for you. And you can play more free. You think less. You just do. And I think you saw Ace Bailey just do last night. The rebound put back before halftime, in the right position, in the right place, making a play happen. His ability to take step-back threes like that. Who's going to defend that kid with his length and athleticism on the perimeter? Not very many guys in the NBA are going to be able to do that. And then, obviously, he's got such a great ability to get to the rim. It's not just his athleticism and his length. It's how he combines the two together to get to the rim from far away so quickly. I've talked about it before. He can take one dribble and gather from the three-point line and dunk. That's the kind of player he is. And as you continue to watch him develop and get more confident, there's more reason to get excited. Jazz fans, if you've been hesitant about the Jazz or you've checked out lately, I get it, I understand it. Check back in for Ace Bailey. Check back in for Ace Bailey, because this guy's going to be a superstar in this league. I believe it. It's going to take some time. It's not going to happen right now. But you saw last night what he can become. 4 of 8 from 3 while being able to do what he does around the rim. It's a lethal combination that very few players on this planet are able to have. He's got it.
Lowry comes through. You have the veteran play last night. He puts down an easy 35 for a guy who's, I'd say, quietly having a really, really good season. He's averaging over 30 points a game still, or just under 30. I guess it's like 29 and a quarter. But he's having a really, really nice year. What does that mean going forward for this team? Is it looked at more like, hey, Lowry is more valuable as the possibility of being able to be a trade asset, or is it more, hey, this guy could be a huge part of what we end up seeing on the court for this Jazz team in the next 5 years?
Both. I don't know what they want to do in the front office long term. They tell us that he's part of the long term. But then again, something could come along that's pretty big, and he's a guy that can actually get that deal done. It's not like some of these other guys that they moved in the offseason whose trade value is very low. Lauri Markkanen is a borderline NBA All-Star. He's been one once before. He's playing at an All-Star level right now. And there could be a team in the future that says, we need him. He's exactly what we're missing to get to a title, and we're willing to give up this much to get him. Or you just patiently wait, and Lowry's, by all accounts, willing to patiently wait for this team to grow up and meet him where he's at. And when that happens, this team is going to be very, very good. And you see Keontae George emerge as a great player this year. You see the potential with Ace Bailey. You see some of these other pieces. Bryce Sensabaugh looks like the perfect sixth man. Isaiah Collier had a great night last night. Kyle Filipowski had 16 points and 7 rebounds and 3 assists. You saw his playmaking ability. There's talent on this roster, and you still have the ability to add more talent in a draft this year where you're going to have multiple picks, and you could be in play for some of these special players that are in this special draft coming up. So the future's bright for the Utah Jazz. The present is frustrating and difficult and murky, but it's a lot better now than it was this time last year, right? I feel like there's hope with this team right now. I feel like there's an entertainment value with this team that wasn't there at this time last year. Ace Bailey gave you excitement and hope last night. Watching a Jazz team score 152 points at home gives you excitement. You're seeing some things develop with this team. They're not there yet, obviously, but you see how the future has potential and the ability to get that one more difference maker in an NBA draft coming up, and then you see where this thing goes is really intriguing. And all the assets that they still have to build out an impressive roster. Future's bright.
What else stood out last night? Obviously,
let me go into Isaiah Collier. You mentioned that because I think there's a thought that if you're looking at the Jazz roster, okay, they're not going to be able to keep all these guys all the time. Who ends up being the guys that end up getting moved or it doesn't work out? Cody Williams got 19 minutes last night, obviously in a blowout game. He hadn't been in the rotation for a while. He gets out there and does some things. But I'm looking at Isaiah Collier, 14 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds. Those are some really good numbers. And he was effective. He made a 3 last night, 5 of 6 from the field. That's the kind of Isaiah Collier you want to see. That's the kind of Isaiah Collier that sticks in a rotation in the NBA and potentially becomes a starter. So for Isaiah Collier to go out there and have his first good game this year, he had the injury issue to start the season, is really promising as well because I haven't given up on him either. So you're looking at 9-10 deep on this roster of guys that have you excited and have you hopeful. Walter Clayton Jr., I've seen a lot of good things out of him. Last night wasn't his night,
do you remember how
but
good,
it was for Isaiah.
Do you remember how good of a preseason that Bryce Sensabaugh was having?
Yeah.
And he's been nice, too, because he only had 16 points last night.
Only
16 minutes and 16 points.
That is efficient.
That's as good as they'll ask you to do.
4 of 9 from 3. And if that's your 6th man moving forward, that's great production. So you see the potential there.
What is Cody Williams' situation then? When they look at him and they go, what do they want?
Still raw, still young, still got to get better, but the clock's ticking. Like teams can't wait forever, even on these guys that they draft that are young like that. He's going to have to figure it out. But you see the athleticism, obviously the pedigree's there, but you can't just lean on what your brother did. He's got to establish his own legacy in the league, his own place in the league, and he's got to show that consistently. And he's in a tough spot because obviously he's got a long way to go. And how do you get better? You need reps and you need minutes. Does he get that in the NBA level? Right now it's not happening. It did last night. Does he got to go to the G League and go figure some things out there? Probably. So we'll see how that develops. But he's got a long way to go. And I think the jury's still out on that. And I think the Jazz obviously want him to be successful. They never, ever, no organization ever wants a top 10 pick to end up not working out. So I think they're going to try to give him every opportunity to do that. But he's got to show improvement. He's got to get better, and it needs to come sooner rather than later.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. That was Jazz Daily. We will return. We are here at RGS Exteriors, and we'll chat with Aaron around the corner here, too. We are going to come back with a Would You Rather, a Wednesday edition of Would You Rather right here on the program. So stay right here with us. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, Would you rather?
Back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Yes, welcome to the program. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. We're at RGS Exteriors, and we're going to chat with Aaron in just a moment here. Okay. I have a very important would you rather. Because we just got hit at our house with the kids who are my kids. They ran out of their Halloween candy.
Oh, no, that's a crisis.
So, which is good news for me. Actually, I'll be honest.
It's only been 12 days.
So my former radio partner, Ethan Millard, and myself, we used to have he had a thing what he called, I want to say it was the toy hammer. He's like, oh, and like when he didn't want his kids to have these certain toys that were super annoying anymore, he would destroy them. And then the kids wake up in the morning and be like, oh, no, they got hit with the hammer monster. Dang. And they'd be like, I guess we're throwing it away. Just the exact opposite of Santa.
That's some trauma, man.
Oh, it's great.
Jeez.
It's a great way. So
Is it?
Ethan's a good dad. I'll stand by
Sure he is.
that. So here,
By what measure?
the hammer monster. It was like the hammer fairy, maybe something like that.
Is that what? Does he do the same thing to his family's pets? Where does he draw the
He's
line?
no longer with us.
Ethan.
So I was definitely taking, like, every once in a while when my kids would have their candy out, I said, hey, if I see the candy out and if I see wrappers out, that's 2 pieces of candy going my way. Now, what that really meant was if I saw the candy out, I would just take a handful and I'd throw it away, because all it was actually helping me out. If I throw a handful of candy away, I don't eat it later. But we hit a thing the other day where we're out of Halloween candy now. I was like, that's good for me. But my wife rolled up with the Christmas cakes from Little Debbie at home.
Oh, yeah, those are a problem.
I know they are. And she's like,
There's
well,
an addictive substance to those things. I know it.
and she goes, well, part of it is that she's like, Halloween candy doesn't stand a chance against Christmas treats. And I was like, and I'm going to ask JJ about this.
Yeah.
So Christmas candy and treats that come with Christmas versus the plethora of peanut butter cups coming out of my ears
It's the Christmas
for Halloween.
trees. Have you seen the memes lately where people at their office, they walk out and they look like they're going to go smoke a cigarette, but what they do is they actually get
they're
a
hitting
Little
that
Debbie
pack.
Christmas tree out,
Oh, dude.
and they're trying to relax while they eat the Christmas
So the
tree.
trees themselves are amazing, and they have zero nutritional value. They're covered in sweet wax.
Well,
I don't care. It's amazing.
We don't actually know what's in them.
And nobody does. The
Nobody
human
knows.
race, the human race is still trying to find out what is in those things. So you go Christmas trees, the Little Debbie Christmas trees.
Oh, yeah.
Over Halloween treats.
Right now, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it's because I have had or seen plenty of Halloween candy. And
I'm over
it's
it.
time to turn the page.
I know.
It's time for some holiday treats.
Now I said I'm over it, but I've already eaten like a pound of candy.
So I would rather Little Debbie.
Okay, good. That's good to know. Just want to see what you were made of, because there aren't really a right answer to these, but you just got that answer right. We were doing the read up on BYU, who's actually made they made an appearance in the ESPN bottom 10. Now at 8-1, obviously they're not really in the bottom.
They're
10.
joking.
But I think it does speak a little bit to how you're viewed immediately after not just a loss but a bad loss.
It's never fun to get your butt kicked.
So when you're down 26-0, let's say BYU takes that thing to overtime. Do they fall to 12 if they would have lost in overtime to Texas Tech? Do they go down to 12 in this poll if they would have lost in overtime?
Cynical me says yes, because that's what the committee had planned all along. They were just waiting for BYU to lose so they could push those three teams.
It's part of the script.
Up into the mix.
Yeah, I have a hard time thinking that they in my mind, what they would have done is that Texas Tech would not have moved up to 6, right? Because the way that Texas Tech beat BYU, I think it was pretty straightforward enough to go, oh yeah, there's a reason they should be where they're at, right? So, to me, that's what it always looks like, is that the rest of the country sees a loss like that, and unfortunately, they did the same thing with I think a lot of people dismissed Utah after they lost. What was it? Was it 34-10?
Yeah,
against Texas
it was
Tech?
early in the season. People don't even remember what happened in September now.
Well, you're not allowed, because you don't remember what happened to Notre Dame back then, for sure.
That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
People forgot the 0-2 Notre Dame start.
We have a short memory when it comes to this stuff. All right. We'll come back. When we do, Zach Smith is going to jump on here with us. He covers the Baylor Bears for the Waco Tribune-Herald. He'll talk to us about what that trip down to Waco means for this Utah Utes team and what Dave Aranda and his squad have to lose with Utah coming to town. And if they don't perform, what happens with that? Is Aranda on the hot seat? Or what can Baylor do to turn a season around a little bit? They did this last year where they had a late run and people said, that's a really good football team. Can they do that against Utah? Stay here. 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
It's another battle for the Aggies, and the KSL Sports Zone has it covered. The Aggies head south to Las Vegas for a Saturday afternoon showdown against UNLV. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're locked on to JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen. We are at RGS Exteriors here in West Jordan. RGS Exteriors, just give them a call if you want anything done on the outside of your home to make it look amazing. And they'll tell you what the trends are. Come on. Have them come out, take a look, lock in some prices right now.
There's nobody better.
Come
Nobody
on.
better here.
Come on, 801-280-3110. That's 801-280-3110. Let's kick off the hour as we always do here. We've got the cut at the top of the program here. We're going to talk Baylor versus Utah. Let's get into it right now.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Doug Smith brings you this portion of the program. Doug Smith, of course, in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and in Linden. Nobody knows cars like Doug. Any of the car brands under their roof is going to be awesome because they'll take care of you. So go see the folks at the Doug Smith brand of dealerships. JJ, Baylor and Utah. This is an intriguing matchup because every game matters now just so much for the Utes. Obviously, it's not just about winning. Now everyone wants you to blow the doors off of everybody because the committee does take a look and go, how have you been doing? How have you won these games?
Yeah.
Give me some style points. And Utah, maybe this year more than we've seen, even during the Cam Rising years of winning the Pac-12 a couple of times, I think this team has more offensive flair than we've ever seen in my lifetime watching.
The numbers
Utah
back it up.
team.
They haven't been this good offensively since 2004.
That's crazy.
And that matters. That stands out. And so there is a potential with this team, and I know they look back on those two losses and are frustrated by it, but there's still a lot to accomplish here. And there's a little bit of pressure on them to do it big, to maintain their place in the college football playoff rankings. But outside of the BYU and Texas Tech game, that's exactly what they've done. So there's no reason to think they can't.
Joining us right now on the program, somebody who covers this Baylor Bears team very well, Zach Smith for the Waco Tribune-Herald, joining us on the program. Zach, thanks for being on the program, man.
Hey, happy to be here. Always happy to talk about Baylor football. And, I know it hasn't been the best season for the Bears, but we're still keeping on down here.
Dave Aranda is one of those guys that, he's been on the hot seat the last couple of seasons at different points, and people going, oh, what's he doing this year? And last year he was able to finish off the season to where people said, no, this is the guy right now to lead this team. He came in with such high expectations, and admittedly, he's one of my favorite guys to talk to at the Big 12 Media Days. He's as even-keeled and level-headed as the coaches you'll find to talk to. What is it right now surrounding this Baylor program? Because the off-the-field stuff and some of the distractions on there, I feel like get in the way of trying to make sure you plan for a really, really tough Utah team coming into town.
Yeah, I think Dave Aranda, he's felt the pressure, I think, over the last 3 years, specifically that 2023 season when they won 3 games. He was close to losing his job after that, but then, like you mentioned, turned things around last year. So I certainly think he does a good job despite his demeanor, right? And he's not a Joey McGuire. He's not going to fire you up. He's not a lot of these rah-rah, running around on the sideline, jumping around. He's not that. He's the exact opposite of that. But I still think he has a connection with his team and with his players that just can't be denied. And that's why, it's very clear that this team – despite falling short of expectations in some regards and some of the distractions that have been plaguing this team off the field, even during their bye week, he does a good job of kind of being honest with them, with everybody on the roster, because there is a connection there, because he is a different guy, and he might not coach the way that we're used to and the way we're used to seeing, but I think his way of coaching, his way of connecting with players works for this team and this group specifically. And so all of those distractions, all of the pressure to win, they feel it, they see it, they hear it, but I do think that they do a good job of not letting it kind of affect them on a deeper level, if that makes any sense.
For fans here in Utah that aren't familiar with the situation, can you explain what's going on with Mack Rhodes, the athletic director, and that whole situation that's causing this distraction?
Certainly. It was a little under 2 months ago after the Arizona State game, which was the first game of the conference season. That was in late September. He got into a physical and verbal altercation, as it was reported by Outkick. with Michael Trigg, the star tight end, who since then has continued to see his name among the favorites for the Mackey Award as the best tight end. And and Mac also got into it verbally with an assistant coach after that game as well. And so there's just been a lot of, distraction is the best word, because it's just a weird situation. Mac Rhodes is always someone who has been on the sidelines. He watches most games from the sidelines. I know he and Dave Aranda have a very close relationship. He reviews film with him and all this, and so for this to happen and for him to get into it with a player, not just any player, a star player, a huge contributor to the team, it has caused lots of ripples here in Waco. And while it might not always pierce the Baylor bubble and make national news, it's just another kind of weird thing that's kind of going on.
What was the nature of it? What kind of what was reported as in my mind, I'm going, look, we've had outspoken ADs here in the state of Utah before, including, Mark Harlan, who was, last year was halfway on the field and got flagged for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty during the Utah BYU game. And we've had vocal guys before, but getting involved with practices and players and kind of being that close in front of that, what was the thing that surrounded that? Was that reported at all, or was it just something that he said something in passing to him, and then Michael Trigg takes some exception to it? How does an administrator get into that kind of a thing with a player?
Well, it all stems. That game against Arizona State was a night game at McLean Stadium. Baylor was wearing black jerseys. Everybody was in black, and then Michael Trigg had a brace on his shoulder. He had injured his shoulder a couple games prior, and he was wearing a bright yellow undershirt, and which it matched the numbers perfectly. And if you weren't looking for it, he did stand out. He was the only one wearing a yellow undershirt, and as stupid as it sounds, that is reportedly what kind of set Mac off, is why are you wearing a yellow undershirt when everybody else is wearing dark? And so I would be hard pressed to say that is the reason, the reason. I'm sure there's more to the story we don't know. That can't be the one incident that caused this. There had to be more. Michael Trigg is an interesting figure here, because every week we talk to multiple players, at least 3 different players, and Dave Aranda. We have never, in 2 years since Michael Trigg has been here, we have never once talked to him.
Interesting.
And so I don't know if that's Baylor protecting Michael Trigg, or maybe they don't want him to say so. I don't know the answer to that question. But it stemmed from that incident of Michael Trigg wearing yellow when everybody else was wearing black, but it's hard for me to believe that that's the entire story, which we just don't know yet.
I was going to ask, though, too, on top of all of this, Mac Rhodes is getting a ton of attention because he's the guy who's, the figurehead for the College Football Playoff Committee, obviously, and every week he's got tough questions to answer. How much has that contributed to the fact that people are looking at this thing and going, Mac Rhodes, what's going on, man? It feels like a very weird time to have him front and center and representing the university, while he's kind of not, because he's also trying to be part of the the spokesperson for the committee.
Right. You're spot on. I think that the timing of this coming out and the people that I think wanted it out, I think it's purposeful when it came out.
Right.
I think there are certainly people here in Waco that, we talk about Dave Aranda's job a lot, but there are people here in Waco that also want Mac Rhodes out because, the whole thing with Kim Mulkey, a women's basketball coach, was a legend here, right? She won national championships, and it kind of felt like, her and Mac did not always see eye to eye, because he came in after she was here and already had established herself as a legend. I'm not saying that's the one thing, but that's the most notable thing where there's a whole bunch of people who love Kim Mulkey, what she stands for, what she did, and all of that. And Mac is kind of the antithesis to that. And so now that you're seeing football, and football is kind of falling off, and Dave Aranda is a different cat, and he's kind of Mac's guy, and all of this, like, those detractors are still there. And I'm not saying, so I just think that there are a lot of people here that do not like Mac Rhodes for one reason or another, and there are people that kind of want to see him gone just as much as they want to see Dave Aranda gone.
So thank you. Now we get all that, and then you combine that with obviously some on-field frustrations. I can't imagine fans were too thrilled about the TCU and Cincinnati losses, especially that 21-point loss to Cincinnati. Did they write anything against UCF in a 30-3 win and then the bye week, or are those problems that they had in those games still looming?
I mean, that UCF game was the best that Baylor had played all season, no doubt. I think UCF came into the game averaging over 200 yards on the ground, and Baylor held them to 74. It was like, where did this rush defense come from? Baylor has had one of the worst rush defenses in the country, really, up until that game. And so it seemed like they had righted some things. Then the offense, again, got back kind of going to where they were earlier in the season. There, though, that Cincinnati game, that TCU game, there were times when Sawyer Robertson just didn't look kind of in a rhythm. And so they did right things against UCF, but I still think the huge caveat there is, it was UCF. Utah is a completely different animal than UCF. Even Cincinnati and TCU, I think, are completely different and, in my opinion, better teams than UCF. But, I mean, it was as righting a ship as you can get against a team like UCF, in my opinion. So whether they carry that through the bye week is to be determined. Certainly the last bye week, headed into that TCU game, they did not, because they won 2 games leading into the last bye week and then lost to TCU like they did. So, yes, they kind of righted the ship against UCF, but I truly don't know if I have faith that they will carry that through into the Utah game.
Speaking of the Utah game, obviously this is a Utah team that's going in a direction that is very positive for them after their 2 losses to both BYU and Texas Tech. Those are 2 extremely good teams in this conference, and yet Utah right now looks like it's as strong as anybody in the entire country, really, if you stack them up. What do you think this Utah team brings to Waco that the Bears should be a little bit wary about?
I mean, I look at the ability to run the ball is just incredible. I think, what is Utah? The 3rd best rush offense in the country, behind a couple military academies, right?
Right, yeah.
And like Baylor just does not have the horses in their front 7 to slow down anyone. And with Utah's offensive line and, Dampier and Wayshawn Parker has looked really good the last couple games. So, I just think that there's the opportunity. Utah has the opportunity to really embarrass Baylor and just run up and down the field on them and just kind of lean on their offensive line and just run the ball. And that if I'm Baylor, I'm selling out to stop the run just about every time and, seeing what happens, because that's been their bugaboo all season, aside from the UCF game, is stopping the run. So that if I'm Baylor, I'm terrified of Utah's run game.
On the other side of the ball, Sawyer Robertson's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He has a lot of respect here. BYU and Utah have had to face him. Kyle Whittingham talked about him this week. His numbers speak for himself. 26 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 62% completion rate. How come the production in the pass game hasn't added up to the results and wins they've had? And what's been holding that offense back from – obviously they're getting the yardage, but they haven't been able to turn that into wins at the level that they'd prefer.
Right. I mean, I think that the offense, for the most part, has been living up to its end of the bargain. Okay. There's certainly been some low spots. I think, like I mentioned before, the offense wasn't really going against TCU or Cincinnati. Certainly in that game against Arizona State, where that earlier in the season. It did not kind of pull its weight, but I think the offense for the most part has been doing its job, and Sawyer Robertson is kind of the perfect quarterback for Baylor and Jake Stavelow's offensive system, and he's just the leader that everybody wants to follow. But the problem is the offense needs to be perfect almost every single game, and that's not necessarily possible. I mean, you hope it's possible, but it needs to be perfect all the time because the defense has been so bad. And so when you're getting scored on every single possession, I mean, the offense, like I said, has to be perfect. You're going for it on fourth down more than any team in the nation because you're coming from behind because you need all these points to overcome your leaky defense. And so I don't think that Baylor's problems this year stem from the offensive side of the football. It's Sawyer Robertson and all the weapons he has there, Ashton Hawkins, Josh Cameron, Michael Trigg, certainly. They've been doing their job. It's the defense that has been so just leaky that has not been doing very good.
Well, it's an interesting matchup, of course, this weekend, and teams that feel like that they're headed in a different direction at this point, and yet at the same time, like Baylor is as talented. I mean, they're one of these teams that have been able to buck the trend when it comes to recruiting sometimes in the state of Texas and move a lot of guys into their direction from a long-term standpoint. Where does Baylor stand in the Big 12 when it comes to being able to compete in the state of Texas in recruiting?
They're, up there, right up there. I mean, certainly Texas Tech is above and beyond anybody here in the state in terms of, in the Big 12 in the state in terms of spending and recruiting. But TCU and Baylor, from what I've been told, are number 2 and 3 in the Big 12 in terms of NIL spending, and maybe in Texas here. And so they are keeping up with the Joneses there, and they have a elite recruiter in Keenan Hall, who's their running backs coach, and they have the best recruiting class that Dave Aranda's had since he's been here, and they are just bringing in the dudes. And Central Texas and Waco as a whole doesn't have a lot of big schools, but they have some really good dudes, and they've done a really, really good job this cycle keeping those guys at home. And there's a top receiver from right down the road, London Smith, who plays for University. He is just having an elite year for his high school, leading them to their first district title since, 1952, I think. And, Baylor in the recruiting realm is, just blazing new trails that Baylor hasn't seen since the Art Briles days.
It's wild, and then it's crazy because I think that you see that type of momentum, and it can all go away when you have everything with the transfer portal and how things work out. And if a coaching change happens, and if an athletic director change happens, all these things that kind of add up, and you go, how can you make sure that you keep all those dudes coming in on that pipeline? And so Zach Smith, he covers Baylor football for the Waco Tribune-Herald, and, of course, he'll be down there at McLean Stadium covering this game between Baylor and Utah this weekend. Zach, thanks so much for joining us, and we appreciate all the info. Awesome stuff, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
There you go, Zach Smith. Sounds problematic down there to be.
There's some issues down there.
But here's the thing that really stinks is that when you get a program like Baylor, and this happens with really any program across the country who has relative success, a pretty decent NIL pool, right? And has all the excuses. Even recently, Baylor, think about Baylor having a Heisman Trophy winner within the past decade, having the success that they've had to be able to win some of those recruiting battles. For a long time, Baylor was, it was like they were better than Texas A&M. They're better than TCU. They're better than most of the schools there in the state, even Texas some years. And so you look and you go, when I was growing up, Baylor was a joke.
Oh, no, yeah, for sure.
And they've
didn't
turned
really
that thing
emerge
around
until the last, 10, 15 years?
And they're doing something that big boy football programs do, which is you have people in powerful positions who then turn on the current coaching staff. So what happens with that? And you heard it. You got guys who are they wanted this Mack Rhodes story to come out, which, by the way, freaking bizarre.
Very strange,
right?
Yeah.
Your athletic director getting into it physically and verbally with a player.
Over a shirt.
Well, and just that sounds insane that somebody who is in a position of that caliber would even be in a position to make a comment as a player is running by or something, and they feel like it's their spot to be like, let me tell you something, right? However that thing went down, it looks bad, but the reason it comes out is because people don't want them there. Yeah. So if people don't want you there, then what happens? The rest of the season they go, I hope we get our freaking butts kicked, and I'll make sure that it happens.
They want change.
It's crazy because then they're like, hey, well, the only way this thing's going to get turned around for us to start winning is if these guys start losing really, really badly, and then we can really put the screws to them, and then we'll get them all fired.
I'm glad you're saying that because I'm looking at the standings.
They're 5-4.
You know, we went right with the tone that Zach came in with. I get it. He's engrossing. He's in the middle of it. It feels bleak down in Waco.
It's depression right now.
They're 5-4. They're 3-3 in conference play.
I know.
Would you rather be UCF, whose butt you just kicked, who's 4-5 and 1-5 in conference?
Think about teams
Baylor's in the middle.
Think about teams like Iowa State.
That's what the problem is, Alex.
Yeah,
is the
that's
people
exactly
down there want Baylor back at the top. They're in the middle, and that's why they want change.
Teams that they're ahead of in the standings, by the way, Kansas State, Iowa State, Kansas. Those three programs right there by themselves, you look at and you go, man, in any given year, you would be
Baylor
absolutely
beat Kansas State.
They would be excited to be ahead of these teams in the standings at any given time. But it's the problem is that when certain people decide this isn't the guy anymore, and actually, you know what? If that's going to be the case, we have to make sure that that's the case. It's easier to fire a guy when they are 5-7.
Oh yeah.
Than it is to say, hey, they were 8-4, but that's just not what we do down here.
Look at what West Virginia did.
Of course.
They had to wait a season because the coach won too much.
Neil Brown was doing too well. And even last year they were like, this is going to be as bad as it gets. All right, you're fired. You know? and it was because – but again, it was –
Rich Rod's not doing any better.
Doing worse.
Right.
I mean, the reality is that they got that who did they beat a couple weeks ago that you were like, oh, it's Houston.
Houston.
So they beat Houston. That was their first Big 12 win of the year, like 2 weeks ago. And you're right. You're exactly right. If you have a narrative in your head of how you want this thing to go – the people who wanted Rich Rod back, the people who wanted Scott Frost back, the people who want Dave Aranda gone, they'll kind of do whatever they need to do to be able to make that happen. And so we make all sorts of crazy excuses, right? Like, oh, that's good. Well, Mac Rhodes, I think he punched a guy. Like that. You start to get into it. He's not doing himself any favors. He's not doing himself any favors, by the way, standing in front of and I mean, I read the transcript to you last night while it was going. It was 58 you-knows, which, of course, means that he doesn't know. Like, he gets in front of the thing and he goes, man, I mean, we think, Notre Dame, is a really good team, and you're like, Mac, you're not doing a good job for this thing, man.
And here's the other problem is you hear that story about that guy, and then that guy's the chair of the committee?
I know.
Do we have the right people in the room?
But see, that's why you go – this is happening down at his school, and yet he's the committee guy, and then everybody who's down at the school goes –
We're supposed to trust this?
And everybody at the school goes, oh yeah, and I'll tell you right now, too, he has no response when they start asking about, hey, why is BYU taking such a big tumble? Well, what we felt was – and he kind of did this backhanded like, hey, you're welcome, by the way. We put Texas Tech and BYU right by each other in the high up in the rankings, and so you should enjoy that this weekend. It's like, dude, do you hear yourself? Do you hear yourself? Nobody wants a guy up there who's just up there serving himself. And at the very least, like he does not have the marketability right now on his side. It's not going to be good. There's no way this guy's going to last very long in Baylor. We'll take a break here. We'll come back. We got more around the corner. Don't want to miss it. Top of the hour, by the way, Cole Bagley, our Utah Mammoth insider for KSLSports.com, is going to join us, give us a thought on how this game against the Buffalo Sabres coming home tonight to Delta Center. The boys are certainly excited to be back at home considering how those last few games went on the road up in the Great White North. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex in 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the program today. You know what that music means, of course, bringing you the daily NFL Blitz here. Yes, the sport that we love the most here in these beautiful new United States of America. We were just having this conversation about how Dave Aranda doesn't fit in as a coach there at Baylor. And by the way, if you missed any of our conversation with Zach Smith, who covers Baylor for the Waco Tribune, awesome to listen to because it doesn't sound like people are very excited about this Baylor team. And these guys who are covering the team, like, they kind of reflect that too. They're like, yeah, I think it's just kind of Mack Rhodes sort of lived his life out and his time frame here at Baylor. And, Dave Aranda's kind of a Mack Rhodes guy. So do the math. People don't love the way that he approaches stuff. They want a Coach Prime type guy. They want a Joey McGuire type guy. They want somebody who stands up. I mean, Sonny Dykes fits right into that role. Yeah. A guy who's like a perfect interview from like a media standpoint.
Guy, but
listen, I'm going to tell you how we're going to approach this. It just is. They love to have that guy, and like Dave Aranda is just a guy who he is like a brilliant defensive mind in college football. We've talked about how sometimes the coordinators just don't have what it takes to be the full head coach, and it feels like people are using that narrative too to be like, yeah, he's a good guy and everything, but I just don't think he fits in here, and you're going, oh my gosh. I mean, and careful what you wish for, Baylor, because you'll have to go out there, and this is not a great year to go out and dip in to try to find Power 4 coaches that want to come in and make a name for themselves. They want to do that in the SEC programs that are available. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get the guy who comes and head coaches you over the guy who wants to go and be the head coach at Auburn, despite the fact that, maybe you would have more success at Baylor. You're in the cradle of football civilization, down there to be able to recruit out of it. It's crazy. Anyway, hey, by the way, we were talking about Matt LaFleur and we were talking about him and Kyle Shanahan, right? Like two guys who you wouldn't have expected to be struggling so much. These are the kinds of stories that come out, and like there's an angle to it. So this story that came out that talks about Matt LaFleur and his current play calling situation. When people go, hey man, why don't you give up the play calling? And that's a hard thing because and then he says, no, I'm not going to give up the play calling. I'm an offensive coordinator. I'm an offensive genius. I'm not going to give it up. And when people are saying, yeah, but why are you the one calling the plays right now? Why don't you hand those duties off? That's a tough spot to be in. He says he's not giving up those duties, calling the plays. You kind of get what you get with Matt LaFleur. And right now it's been probably the biggest struggle that he's had in Green Bay. It's a weird spot to be in because then everybody starts to ask you to give up your play calling duties and just be a head coach, and then after that you wonder what the vibe is on how long they want you to stay there as a head coach. It's a weird place right now the Packers fans are in, JJ.
Yeah, so Jordan Love hasn't thrown a touchdown pass since October 26th.
That is a weird stat.
That's 2 straight weeks without a touchdown pass. So that's part of the problem is that offense is just not productive enough.
Yeah, it's one thing to lose to Philly. It's another to only score 7 points. It's another thing to lose to Carolina.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, right?
And to lose 16-13 against the team that just lost to who? The Saints. Okay?
Ooh.
The Packers are struggling, and that's not the team that we saw blow out Detroit in Week 1, blow out the Commanders in Week 2, that looked like a powerhouse. And even they had that run with the win over Cincinnati, Arizona, to Pittsburgh, where they scored 27, 27, and 35 points. Yeah. This is back-to-back weeks where they're struggling to get in the end zone. And that's where the frustration is. Now, do you abandon a guy that's had top offenses for the last 5 years under his watch in LaFleur? That seems like a bit of an overreaction, and everyone's overreacting to what's happened to the Packers here in the month of November. But it is not good, and Jordan Love has not been good the last 2 weeks, and he's got to own that. LaFleur's got to own his play calling. They'll have to figure that out. But the Packers, this might be a little bit of an overreaction, I think, with LaFleur and everything. I can't imagine. It's just not the Packers' way to overreact. I think it's coming from outside the organization, not from within. I don't think LaFleur's in trouble, and I think Jordan Love's fine. They just got to get it figured out.
Speaking of drama inside franchise, how about the Giants
Oh,
Jameis Winston getting the nod for the
Yes.
start. That's what we all wanted, right?
I don't understand why Russell Wilson was the guy in the first place. And as soon as Dable leaves, what happens? Does that make sense? Feels like everybody in the building knew that Jameis probably would have been the better option all along. Now, Jameis is more prone to throwing interceptions, but it's like a high risk, high reward because Jameis can also make some incredible plays with his arm. And I know that Russell Wilson has had his moments and can do that too, but those days of him doing it consistently are long gone. If Jackson Dart can't play, it makes sense that Jameis gets a start over Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson, when he's bad, he's really, really, really bad. And he cost him that game when he had to come in. You got to be ready to go. And Russell Wilson did not get it done in a game where the Giants had a nice lead and they blew it. And that's why Dable is no longer employed. It's not because of anything else other than the fact that the Giants have blown big leads this year. Multiple. I think 4 games they lost when they led by led by double digits. They have to get better play out of the quarterback position. Russell Wilson wasn't getting it done. And just as selfishly, Jameis is just fun.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He's just always doing something that's going to be fun.
He's become the most lovable.
I want post-game Jameis Winston interviews.
I know.
That's what I want.
He's become this lovable non-starter, like the lovable backup.
Yeah.
And that's, by the way, if you just want like a long career of being like a guy that people like, go be a backup.
It's quite a turnaround for a guy who, by all accounts, had character issues early on in his career.
Oh, for sure.
And now guys talk about how incredible he is.
Right.
Which is a tribute to him for figuring some things out and changing his life and changing the way he handles his business.
Think about how he approaches it. He's like, I want to be here, and I want to teach Jackson Dart how to be a good pro. That's what people want to hear, you know? Not the guy who goes, well, I should be the starter.
Is that what Jameis would have said? His second or third year in the league? Probably not, right?
No. He'd be, I'm the guy. Think about the disaster they have right now in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Right? And you've got massive egos that are massively insecure. Jameis Winston, I don't feel like he's insecure. He goes, but at the same time, he goes, I could be a starter in this league. I'm one of the best 32 quarterbacks on the planet. Put me in there. But he's like accepted the idea that he's like, I'm this guy right now. And you know what's going to happen? It's a
major step in your life. Just not even just an NFL player, but all of us, to be so self-aware, to say this is what I am right now at this point period of my life.
Think about right now what
I'm no longer the man.
He's going to throw for 331 yards.
Yeah.
And 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and they're going to lose to the Packers.
Yeah.
And people are going to go, and they're going to go, hey man, you threw those 2 interceptions. One of them obviously gave the game away. You know, just that stuff I got to work on. I'm really dedicated to working on that this week, and I want to get better. And you're like, oh, I love this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm telling you, he's going to have big numbers. He's going to be way better than Russ for sure, because Russell Wilson gets in there and goes, I'll roll out real quick.
Let's ride.
I'll roll out.
He's so aloof.
And then everybody's like, hey man, you don't have that rolling out ability anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have the footwork that used to be the thing. And I'm sad for Russ because he had to put a statement out that says, I'm not going to get released. I've not asked for a release. I want to be here. But I'll tell you what he doesn't want to be is the third-string quarterback.
Right.
Even Russell Wilson goes.
It's a future Hall of Famer that now has to accept his fate currently, and it's not easy for him to do.
Does it end up ruining that Hall of Fame status going forward?
How does that happen? How bad would you have to perform after there was a period of time where Russell Wilson was a top 5 quarterback in the league, won a Super Bowl. Didn't he win an MVP?
No, that was Cam. That was Cam Newton, for sure. Oh no,
he's never won.
He's never won.
He's never received a single vote. So I take that back. I guess he felt like he was overlooked. He led the NFL in touchdown passes in 2017. There was a period of time where the Seahawks.
How do you not get a vote when you lead the league in touchdown passes?
I have no idea.
That's weird.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But he had a period of time where you would consider him one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league over multiple years.
1,000%. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We got our top 10 next. Before we get out, though, want to remind you that the Hercules Hero of the Week program is an awesome program that all year long we honor the people who do an amazing job covering the youth sports are helping volunteer for the youth sports in your community. And even if they're not volunteering, even if they're like an assistant coach at the high school or at the middle school, whatever it might be, we want to honor those people who do a great job with our youth in teaching them great sportsmanship and doing an awesome job and dedicating extra time. If they're a coach, if they're an official, if they're a team mom, somebody who goes above and beyond with the youth sports in their community, all you have to do is go to KSLSports.com/contest and nominate a youth sports volunteer for the Hercules Hero of the Week program. And they win a prize from Hercules First Federal Credit Union and from Beehive Meals. So nominate that person today, KSLSports.com/contest. I've got a top 10 for you here next. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go!
Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. The Cougars return home for a battle against TCU. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're locked on to JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I got a short top 10 here for you, and it's really not going to be asking for a full top 10 as much as I'm going to ask you. JJ, you ready for a bit of
yes.
top 10 trivia here? The Utah Jazz last night scoring 152. Where does that land in franchise history of points scored in a regular season game?
In Jazz history?
In Jazz history.
Third.
I'm sorry, but it's fourth.
Oh.
And you know why?
Why?
Because you didn't incorporate the New Orleans Jazz.
Oh.
Got him.
My bad.
Got him. Yes, but you are correct. It's third in Utah Jazz history.
Okay.
They had two 154-point games. One of them came last year.
Makes sense.
Does it?
Well, because the NBA is scoring more points now than ever.
It does. Yeah. And this team, put it on the list, man. They scored 152 last night. If you had on your bucket or on your bingo card, this Jazz team would be one of the struggle bus teams in the history of the team, in the team's history, but be able to score over the past season. So they won 18 games last year, right? Or was it 17? 17 games last
17.
year. And then we go, okay, you win 17 games, but you're also going to have one of the highest scores in the history of your franchise. You're the number one scoring game of your. Now, here's something about that the New Orleans Jazz game that they scored 153 in to be the third most in history, because they did 154 twice, one in 21, one in 24, and then 1978 they scored 153 points against the against the San Antonio Spurs. George Gervin had 65 points in that game.
Wow.
And they lost to the Jazz by 20. There were 8 Jazzmen in double figures. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't recognize hardly any of them.
I bet.
There was no, Pistol Pete. There wasn't
It wasn't exactly a golden age of NBA basketball.
Right. There's a reason
in
the franchise.
New Orleans in the late 70s.
There's a reason the franchise had to shift around. So there you go. All right, Aaron is joining us here. By the way, of course you would know that. I feel like if
we had to know the stat last night.
I was going to say you probably had to report it last night.
Yes.
Hey, 152 points in a regular season game, not in overtime.
Right.
That's a big deal. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll chat with Cole Bagley, our Utah Mammoth insider for KSLSports.com. I have a list of questions for him, for Coach Tourney, things that have been popping up on my mind, and also one of my close friends is like, "Hey man, if you're asking Cole questions today, ask him this." So no easy answers this week.
The Utah Mammoth. What is the deal?
Get out of here. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll chastise ourselves for saying that at the same time, and we'll come back. More to go right here at 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
The exclusive home of the Utah Mammoth is on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Clayton Keller flies in, shoots on a sharp angle, and scores! Clayton Keller says, "I'll do it myself." Below the goal line, otherwise Cousins would have had a breakaway. Wraparound attempt, and they score! Ottawa gets the leaky one, and it's 3-1. Right now it's Nick Schmaltz gliding in. Schmaltz to the front, scores! Rankings. A highlight reel goal for Nick Schmaltz. Puck tipped on goal and they score. Make it 8 of their last 9 for this line. And Michael Amadio has goals in 4 straight.
You're locked into JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks for being a part of the program. As a small token of appreciation, we want to give away some tickets here for you. It's a Win Ticket Wednesday. You know what that means? All you have to be is caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. Get yourself a family 4-pack of tickets to the Holiday Lights at the ballpark at America First Square, a brand new immersive holiday tradition. Check it out. It starts up tomorrow. And we want to be able to, or no, tomorrow? The next day. Yeah. Friday, yes. Friday, fire it up. It's going to start up the ballpark at America First Square. All you have to do is just go to the ballpark at afs.com. Reserve those tickets. We've got a family 4-pack of tickets that you can win right now, though. 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. Go check it out for yourself. Let's kick off the hour here. As we always do with the cut, top of the program, we've got our guy, Cole Bagley, going to join us, Utah Mammoth insider for KSL Sports. He's got some tough questions for us to answer, or for him to answer from us. We've got some tough ones for him. So we'll see what this Utah Mammoth team can do now they come home tonight versus the Buffalo Sabres. Let's kick it off right here with Cole.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the program. TRAJAN Wealth for all your trusted local needs in retirement. It's TrajanWealth.com. This Utah Mammoth team, of course, started off the season with a 7-game win streak after a couple of losses, and then they suddenly were leading the tables in the West. And now at 9-7, everybody's wondering what's going on with this team who had a really rough go, JJ, up in Canada as they hit the road. They're not scoring not just as many goals as the other team. They're giving up a ton of goals, and they're doing it late. And I don't know if it's a function of, obviously Veggie's one of the best goaltenders in the league, or at least he started off the season that way. They signed him up to a big, contract last season, and they've had a hard time. And not only that, the top 6 have disappeared from this team, who have been – you talk about the guys who you're anticipating to be massive goal scorers for this team, and right now they're not getting a lot of production out of their top 2 lines, and that's a tough thing to have because you've got a bunch of young guys that everybody's expecting a lot out of, and you're paying them a lot of money, and you're signing them up long term. And right now this team is kind of reeling, wondering what they're doing after a really quick start. They are suddenly right there in the middle of the tables and really underperforming compared to some of the teams in the West.
Is it time to panic?
Nah.
I don't think so.
Nah.
It's a rough patch. There's ebbs and flows in a hockey season. We've seen it already one season following this team in the NHL. I think they'll be fine, but there are obviously some issues, and Cole will give us some more insight and answer the question whether or not fans should panic.
Yeah, Cole Bagley, Utah Mammoth insider for KSLSports.com. Good to be home with this team coming back to Delta Center, I would assume, after a couple of rough ones up there in the great land to the north of us, Canada. The road trip, what did we learn about this team? They didn't just lose some of these games. They lost big after they started off quickly and scored usually first in these games. Cole, what are you diagnosing this team with right now?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. First of all, I think it's a demonstration that this team is still developing, right? Mm-hmm. Not that I think that they can use the excuse that they're still super young, because I think they're like the 20th youngest team in the NHL after this offseason, where they added, some more veteran players. But they're at their core, they are still very young, especially with guys like Logan Cooley and Dylan Guenther. But I think what they learned about themselves is, hey, like, we're a good team. We can play with anybody, but we have not been able to master how to beat the top level talent in the NHL, right? They go to Edmonton, it doesn't go well. They go to Toronto, it doesn't go well. So I think that's normal. But dissecting it a little bit further, the key issue, I think there's two key issues that have been going on over the last 6 games. First of all, goaltending. They were at 91% in terms of their save percentage during that 7-game win streak, which wasn't like incredible, but it was good enough to help them put them in a position to win games every single night, which they did. Whereas during these last 6, that save percentage has dropped to 80%. You're not going to win almost any hockey games if your goaltenders are only stopping 8 out of 10 shots, because if they're putting 30 on you, that's going to end up being 6 goals, and that's what they've given up several times. So the goaltending has been an issue, and it's kind of ironic because they're actually one of the best teams in the NHL in terms of limiting not only shots but grade A scoring chances. They're 6th in the NHL in shots allowed per game, and so it feels just a little bit like puck luck. And on the other end, they've outshot their opponents over the last 6 games by about 25 shots collectively, and about an average of 4 or 5 a night. Again, they're just not really getting good bounces. The top 6 forwards have gone kind of gone quiet. That kid line, which has been changed around a little bit over the last couple of games. Cooley hasn't scored since he signed his big extension. Gunther's had 1 goal, but it was in garbage time, and Peterka's gone pretty quiet. So it's the next phase of growth, right? Like, they're not an overly young team. This isn't year 1, year 2, year 3 of a real rebuild. This is year 5, where they're really trying to still learn what it takes to be consistently good and give your A game every single night. So I don't think we're at a panic level yet, but if they lose 3 or 4 of their next 5, we may be approaching a little bit of a panic.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad you bring that up, because this current spell they've been on, a little bit of a rough patch, has dropped them from 2nd or 3rd in the West all the way down to out of the wild card mix that quickly. It doesn't take long, and we're learning that as we follow the NHL more closely. You can't have long rough patches because there's so much parity in this league. Very few teams are having those long patches. How important is it that they avoid another long losing streak, and what kind of damage could that do to their playoff chances? And on the other side of it, you're seeing some really good teams that are on the outside looking in as well. Yeah.
I'd say the NHL probably has the most parity of any of the big 4 sports, and it's arguably the most unforgiving. You can have teams that go on hot streaks that win 7, 8, 9 games, but then, maybe they go through a month or 2 where they're only winning 30 or 40% of their games, and it just sets them back. And, when they were in Buffalo, I reported that was a must-win situation, and some guy on X called me a clown for it. But those are like
it was JJ, by the way. JJ,
yeah, that was JJ.
That was my other
JJ
account.
burner.
I got a lot of burners.
But it's true. Like, no, these are not must-wins to make the playoffs tomorrow. But you cannot lose 3 or 4 games in a row. You cannot have those streaks because at the end of the day, if you do that, 10 times, right? Like, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So that's why, you have to limit your losses. You really can't go more than 2 or 3 in a row because then it's hard to kind of right the ship, because then, your confidence starts to dip, which starts from the top down. If your confidence in net is bad, then your confidence in front of you is bad. And then so on and so forth up through the forwards and everything. So yeah, every game is important. Every period is important, every shift. And, I talked with a couple of the guys yesterday. I talked with Mikhail Sergachev. I talked with Clayton Keller. And, of course, they're going to say all the right things. But, what Sergachev pointed out was, look, like, what's promising is that we are still limiting teams, in terms of their shots. We are also outshooting our opponents. And so, if we can get a little bit more puck luck and if we can just stay the course, like, these are fixable things. Which, to quote him, says, look, that's why it's promising, is we know we're a good team. Yeah, we're having a rough stretch, but these aren't like major issues. The effort's there. The production is there in terms of getting chances on net. They just need a few more to go in, on their end and a couple less to go in against them.
So they've lost 3 in a row. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games. And the team they're playing tonight is the Buffalo Sabres. Is this game against the Sabres also a must-win?
Yeah, and that guy can call me a clown again. I don't remember what his name was, but I guess if that's you, I guess we'll see if your burner ends up with the clown emoji.
You'll be hearing from me later.
Yeah, it was Bear Bachmeier Benson, very different guy.
Yeah, there we go. I would say it's a must-win. You got to right the ship here. You cannot drop 4 in a row. You cannot lose 6 of 7. And the schedule lightens up, right? They've been on the road for, I think they played 15 games. They've been on the road for like 11 of those. So now they're at home for the next 6 of the next 8. And as well, their strength of schedule softens up too. I think they've had one of the top 6 or 7 toughest schedules, and now it softens up to like the 27th toughest schedule moving forward. So it eases up. You have a chance to get back to winning ways and to do it at home, right? And I think that's an opportunity to help the goaltenders. The goaltenders, especially if Amelka seems to just feed off the energy at Delta Center, and he loves to hear his name chanted. Like this is a chance to get right, to improve that save percentage, to see some goals go in, to feed off the crowd, and to get back to winning ways. Because the positive thing here, they're still 9-7. I pegged this team to be fighting for a wild card spot down the stretch. I don't think that they're a team that's going to be top 3 in division from Thanksgiving forward. And I also don't think that they're a team that should be out of the playoff race at any point. But it's going to be tough, so you got to figure it out now and get back to winning. Because, like I said earlier, you're playing with fire here. If you lose 2 or 3 more, here of the next 4 or 5, we're approaching dangerous territory.
Especially when you're playing the Islanders and the Sharks and the Sabres, right? I agree with you.
Yep. Cole, how do you get these young lines fired back up again and get them? I think everybody looks at those top 6 and goes, "What's going on with these first 2 lines? Hot shot, young goal scorers. How do in the NHL? How do you kind of fire back up again some of that chemistry and get these guys going? And in some cases, they haven't really had the full chemistry going yet this year.
It's interesting. I'd have to disagree a little bit with switching up the lines because, 2 weeks ago, the first and second line were both top 6 lines in the NHL in terms of, statistically. The kid line had 34 points in 11 games. They were averaging, 3.5 points a night. And then the top line, of course, Nick Schmaltz was not going to be a guy that's leading the league in points for an entire year. But that line was, I believe, number 6 statistically across the board. And then the kid line for a while was number 2 in a lot of key areas. And so it's been interesting to see them abandon that so quickly. If you ask me, I think it was a little bit of a mistake. I think that kid line is going to be, one of your premier lines for the next 7 or 8 years. Those are guys that should be playing together. When you watch them 2 weeks ago, they were just completely dissecting opposing defenses with their speed and with their finesse. And then, they go through a little bit of a cold streak. Again, they're Cooley's 21, Gunther's 21, almost 22, JJ Peterka's 23. There's going to be notable cold stretches. And so in terms of getting them fired up, they just need to see the puck go in the net. They need their confidence back. They need to start winning. I don't know what that looks like on the other end. I don't know how, as a coach, you really get them fired up, but I think it just comes back to confidence and seeing it go in. And I think it comes back to your leadership group. I talked to Keller yesterday, and he said that he likes to play with fire. He with the fire in his belly. He likes to play a little bit pissed off, and he kind of laughed it off. But no, these guys need to play the chip on their shoulder. If they're serious about making the playoffs, they need to prove it now.
Cole, one of the things that we've also seen with this team, they start off tonight. They're at home, and I know that they kind of say, hey, look, in the NHL, going on the road for a long stint is great for the team. But coming back home for a few games is going to be key for this team. So how do these home games match up for the teams that are coming into to Delta Center over the next few games?
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, this is a good stretch to kind of get yourself right. Playing as much as they have on the road. I mean, they were good at the start, but then they go to some of these bigger markets. Montreal is the most unwelcoming market probably in the NHL in terms of the in-game experience. I mean, that is just a temple of hockey with the craziest fans in the NHL, right, where it all began. Same thing with Toronto. They're very similar, and Edmonton. But, now you're home for a bit, and you can figure things out against teams like Buffalo and New York and San Jose, the Rangers. These are games that you circle as we need to make sure that we're winning these. Now, there are going to be some challenges. You play Vegas, a couple of times here coming up, and you got to deal with Montreal again. But it is an opportunity to get right, and hopefully they can take advantage of it. If they could win, I mean, from here on out, after the way that they started the season, if they can just go 50 or 60% of the remainder of their schedule, they'll make the playoffs. It's that simple. So we'll see how it goes. But it's a big opportunity, and I think the guys are ready for it.
Cole Bagley. You can catch his hat trick column that he does right after these games. And tonight, no different. Obviously, the breakdown as soon as the Mammoth, of course, get done with this matchup with the Buffalo Sabres tonight. You're going to get the pregame at 6 o'clock, and the puck drops at 7. And so, Cole, we appreciate it, man. We'll look forward to that, and we'll chat with you again. Thanks for hanging out with us.
All right, thanks.
There you go. Cole Bagley, everybody.
What a clown.
I knew it was you. Oh, I knew it was you. Who? No. You were like waiting. Sometimes when JJ comes in with his face painted in salt white and mountain blue, I
Big
go,
Vegas Golden Knights guy
how
here.
dare you?
Yeah. No, Cole's the best.
I know.
Cole's doing a tremendous job covering this team.
Yeah.
Grateful that he's on our team.
Well, we got Bear coming on our weekly conversation likely tomorrow, and those are some of the same questions. Obviously, it'd be nice to have a little bit of a get-right game, get to that 10th win, but tonight against the Sabres, but we'll see. Got to get right. I'm going to ask him about his trip to the Jazz game, his courtside seat to the Jazz game, see how he liked it.
I'd love to hear.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll get you ready for hockey coming up right around the corner, 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.
Nobody gets you ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready?
Kyle Whittingham and the Utes hit the road to Waco for a showdown against Baylor. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're locked on to JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex in 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone. Just listen to A-Rod in that Cougar update we just did there. And what's interesting is just how quickly it was weird because it happened last year with BYU too. They go 9-0.
Yeah,
last year.
Almost
they lose
the same thing.
They lose to Kansas. People go, season's over. Everything sucks. You do that. Like, isn't that funny how fandom works too?
Yeah.
Like people just go, nah. I mean, people who all year long you couldn't stop them from sending text messages to me about what I tell you. These are the same guys also that if something goes wrong one time, then they go, you should fire A-Rod. I've said it. Right? It's the same guy. And I don't blame them because these are sports fans. You know
they
what I
love
mean?
it. It's an emotional roller coaster.
Yes.
You love it. That's fine. Do your thing. Do your thing.
Well, we have the same thing on the Utah side. Like last year, I get people who be like, everybody knows Kyle Whittingham's washed up. And you're like, excuse you? Like,
they lose a game. We're like, okay, when's Kyle going to resign?
And when they were mid that losing streak, they weren't dipping in and going, man, it's hard to watch this team. It was like they just didn't engage anymore after a couple of losses.
Yeah.
They go, anyway, call me when it's 2025. I'll be hibernating. And
what's their record in the last 2 years? What, 19-3?
BYU's?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cougs now are 21
Help me with my math.
21-3 in their past 24 games.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean it's a team that's they've done well. They've done really well. But, you lose the one, then people lose interest really quickly. The thing is that the Cougs have a lot in front of them still. You heard A-Rod talking about Andy Avalos and that TCU defense, but the reality is but we like what our offense can do. It was a very different experience for this BYU offense last Saturday to be shut down as well as they were. And if you think that TCU is not going to just try to go by the blueprint of what Texas Tech has done, BYU has on film the stuff that they do.
Yeah.
And A-Rod's a great play caller. They are extremely forward-thinking when it comes to, like, new ideas, things like that. But they have stuff that works, and they've been using it. And last week it didn't work. Bear Bachmeier, the freshman quarterback for the Cougs, media availability this week down in Provo, talked about getting ready for this game, also just trying to move past the loss to Texas Tech, but looking forward to everything still in front of them. Everything is still on the table. Here's what Bear said about going forward after that Texas Tech game.
Yeah, we just, when you play great teams, for example, Texas Tech, and we get ourselves in a hole, and sometimes you can't dig yourself out of that hole against great teams, and so we just got to start faster.
Aaron said you were hard on yourself and kind of, I'm not sure if he used the term blamed yourself, but you were hard on yourself. Why was that? Did you just feel like you didn't play well, or what?
I mean, you always want to compete, and you hate losing, and so you're always gonna look back, and you shouldn't harp on it forever, but you kind of you look at the negatives early on, and you kind of get emotional, and then you turn that into gratitude and just being grateful for the moment. But we got to bounce back.
Your older brother Hank had a similar start to his college career, really hot start, and then suffer a loss. Did he have any advice for you after the game of how to rebound from a loss after an initial hot start like you've had? Yeah, I mean, he's the true test of a man and a football team is how you bounce back from adversity, and so he's kind of just been telling me that, and I mean, he's got some great experience with that, and I mean, we just got to bounce back and obviously learn from it and grow.
Doesn't sound like the loss nicked your confidence or any of your offensive teammates. No, you learn and grow, and I mean, we've earned the right to play with confidence and swagger, and so when we step in between lines, we carry that confidence.
The next game is always the most important game, right? But is that mantra tested, especially coming off of a loss like last week, to kind of come out and prove that's not who you guys normally are? Of course, yeah. You always just want to bounce back and again play with confidence and swagger, and so it's what we got to do on Saturday.
How important, Bear, is it coming out with urgency? It seems like that's been kind of a theme for Kalani this week, just the urgency of this team and starting strong. Yeah, I mean, there's always a big emphasis, and you always want to start the game off fast, the game off strong, so it's been harped on.
Aaron said the noise was a factor there, that you guys, your communication was a little bit spotty. Why was that, or as opposed to another game on the road, say like at Arizona or East Carolina?
Yeah, it was just a lot of environment and a lot of noise and hindered some actions.
When you won this starting quarterback job back in fall camp, A-Rod noted that you knew the playbook pretty much when you got the job. Has he added more to that throughout the season, to that playbook, and to where you're throwing in more stuff each and every week? Yeah, I mean, you always add in more naturally as the season goes on, and then obviously scheming up for certain defenses, you're obviously going to implement some new plays, and so I mean, it's been a great process, and we just got to keep going.
You've mentioned bouncing back a couple times. Execution-wise, what does that look like for this team, whether it's on the field or mentality-wise? Yeah, I mean, it was kind of, that game was kind of an anomaly of what we are. I mean, I felt like we've done a great job of executing and just being who we are, and for whatever reason, kind of just, I don't know. I don't want to say we shied away. We just weren't playing our game, and so be back home at less, and just got to play BYU football.
As far as looking at what TCU's defense brings, are they similar to any defense that you guys have faced so far? Yeah, I mean, a little bit of Iowa State in there, but I mean it's a very intricate defense, and Coach Avils does a great job of scheming up, and so we got to come ready to play.
How much are you looking forward to just being back at home and being in a crowd where they're on your side instead of being on the road? You guys have been on the road for a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be great to be in front of Les and the Rock and Cougar Nation.
Because of your ties with Boise State, do you know Andy Avalos?
Yeah, I got a cool story. He was at Merida Valley one time, and he was the DC at Boise, and I was eating the hamburger, and he said that hamburger looks good, and so that was funny to me, but yeah. But yeah, and he coached Hank as well, so yeah.
Any other questions
with
for
JoJo
Bear?
being out with injury for almost 2 months, how hard is it to rebuild the chemistry that you guys developed throughout fall camp and game week, and just trying to prepare for an opponent at the same time?
I mean, you have that natural chemistry with the guys, and especially JoJo, who's just a great athlete and knows his job. It hasn't been hard, and he's been in just right.
We'll see what Bear can do this weekend. See what the newest version of him being able to respond, whatever that chapter is of his freshman season, how he can respond to adversity. Going to be the first game to be able to find out this weekend. Hey, by the way, this Friday, we're going to be at Kenny J's, 3 to 6 p.m., of course. Awesome barbecue. You do not want to miss it. Come out with us on a Football Friday. Get ready to jam on the weekend of a full weekend of college football. And we're going to be full weekend the rest of the season, by the way, here locally. So join us there at Kenny J's Barbecue at the District in South Jordan. Do not miss it. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll get you ready for hockey coming up right around the corner, 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
Best and worst on the program brought to you by the good folks at Doug Smith. An incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram, and now Mitsubishi in the Doug Smith family of dealerships in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and in Linden. We were just having a discussion about which fork was better. They both have a Doug Smith. That's all that matters to you, all right? So they're both good.
And Doug Smith's the best.
All right, JJ, hockey tonight. I'm admittedly very nervous for this hockey club because if you're the Sabres, like no team in the NHL is just some slouch of a team.
No, they have good players.
The Sabres were as close to that by the end of last season as you could have probably gotten in the NHL, and there's just so much parity in the league. That's why it's a fun league to watch. And look, if there are some things that are misfiring for this team, the Sabres could come in and they could take advantage. I just hope they can make things a little bit right starting tonight against the Sabres at home. I think being back at home is going to be huge for this team.
There's no doubt about that. We saw what happened last time when these two teams played. Went to overtime. So you're right. Just because the Sabres are a little down doesn't, this is a big game. And like Cole said, they got to win this game. You can't lose games like this at home.
Very quickly here, our last time with Aaron from RGS Exteriors. Aaron, you guys do a phenomenal job helping people in the outside of their home look phenomenal, but also functional. Last thing you could tell people here who are listening right now today with us.
Give us a call. We can come out, get you guys taken care of, get your home looking beautiful. We've got great promotion right now. We can come out, give you a free estimate. We can deliver a free Minky blanket just for having us out to come and take a look at your home. And we can come out and get everything ready for winter.
Aaron, we appreciate you having us today, man. It's been awesome.
Aaron.
Thanks
Love
for
you
being
guys.
a part of it today. Thanks for inviting us into your home here.
No, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. 801-280-3110. That's 801-280-3110. Aaron, we appreciate it. All right, we're going to wrap things up here and get you ready for the Utah Mammoth broadcast. Of course, it's your radio home of the Utah Mammoth. Coming at you here in the next couple minutes. You're going to fire it up here from Delta Center. It's the Sabres, and it's the Utah Mammoth, and we're hoping to be able to report tomorrow back with Bear Tourney on how this game goes, and we'll see if that one can happen. So for JJ, for Connor, who's doing a phenomenal job hitting the buttons here on location, and then, of course, our great producer, Alex Napoli, is back in Salt Lake City. Connor's like, just tell him what I do. He stands on his principles, okay? That's what he does. He's from Hawthorne, man. He represents.
That's right.
All right.
Hardcore.
We'll take the break here. We'll be back again tomorrow, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.